Hey, I'm William, and in this video, I'll be making the case for why you should read James Baldwin's Giovanni's Room, which I think should be required reading. It's a Saturday morning in Charlottesville, just got some coffee, and I need to go vote later today. That's what I'll be doing after this. This video has been a long time coming, and before I get into it, just know that I won't be giving away anything that happens in the middle or towards the end of the novel. I want you to be able to experience the novel for yourself the first time through. The only novel I can honestly compare Giovanni's Room to is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. There's a lot of drinking in both The Great Gatsby and Giovanni's Room. Both are pretty short and both pack a punch. I should note that though I was gifted this book by the publisher, this is in no way a sponsored video. They didn't ask me to make a video about this book. I just read it, loved it, and want to talk about it. Speaking of love, that's one of the main themes of the novel, and I'd like to read you a quote that is about love. It's one of the most poignant quotes about love I've ever read. "Love him," said Jacques with vehemence. "Love him and let him love you. Do you think anything else under heaven really matters? And how long, at the best, can it last, since you are both men and still have everywhere to go? Only 5 minutes, I assure you. Only 5 minutes. And most of that, alas, in the dark. And if you think of them as dirty, then they will be dirty. They will be dirty because you will be giving nothing, and you will be despising your flesh and his. But you can make your time together anything but dirty. You can give each other something which will make both of you better forever. If you will not be ashamed, if you will only not play it safe." He paused, watching me, and then looked down to his cognac. "You play it safe long enough," he said in a different tone, "and you'll end up trapped in your own dirty body, forever and forever and forever. Like me." I should note that my French is horrible, so I'm sure I will be mispronouncing words in this video. Giovanni's Room is about an American who is on the cusp of getting married, who has essentially fled to Paris, France, where he's been living. He needs a place to stay, and he begins to fall fast in love with a man named Giovanni, who's from Italy. So Giovanni is an immigrant. David, which is the name of the narrator, is basically hiding in France, running away from his life back in America, and the two meet. I would highly encourage you not to just think of this novel as a gay love story. It's so rich with themes, it gets into so many different topics that to pigeonhole it into that narrow of a box is not doing the novel enough justice. It's pretty short, it's only about 170 pages, but throughout, constantly, class, race, sexual orientation, family dynamics, and the will to live are just some of the things that are discussed. Here comes another quote by Jacques, who is one of the most quotable characters in the novel. "Somebody," said Jacques, "your father or mine, should have told us that not many people have ever died of love, but multitudes have perished and are perishing every hour, and in the oddest places, for the lack of it." This is a dark novel. It has terrible weight to it, and I can't get into why, or I'd give away a lot of what happens at the end. But you know from the very beginning, based on the way the novel is framed, that we're headed somewhere pretty dark. Because even from the first chapter, when the narrator is reflecting on the early years of his life, we get the clear sense that the novel is being written from some sort of like a place of purgatory almost. The narrator is writing the story after most of the events of the novel have happened. And there's some pretty eloquent hopping back and forth in time in the novel, though most of it happens within a period of a few months in Paris in the 1950s. This novel is full of great quotes, and normally when I'm reading a book, I'll underline quite a few things when I turn down the corner of a page. That's my indication to myself that I should revisit something at some point in the novel, just when I'm flipping through it. And this is the quote that I've been thinking of the most since I finished reading this novel. It's pretty short. It goes, "But the way to be really despicable is to be contemptuous of other people's pain." And in the context of the scene, that line hits particularly hard, but it rings so true. That's pretty much the worst outlook you can have on humanity or another person, is to be contemptuous of the painful situation they're in. James Baldwin had more to say than most novelists I've ever come across, and And something that gives this novel tremendous weight is the very real consequences of being gay, openly gay, in the 20th century when this novel takes place. Though it's not illegal for a man to be in a relationship with another man in France, it is still very dangerous both in France and in America, more so in America. A lot of the characters in this novel are desperately tragic, but also there's such hope and optimism, which stems from the truth of James Baldwin's writing, that even though the novel gets pretty dark and bleak in places, it's still a really enjoyable experience. And this by no means is a novel that will beat you into the ground. If you've never read anything by James Baldwin before, his fiction is something that you definitely need to have pass through your head at some point in your life. I've enjoyed a lot of his essays too. I read a book of his essays earlier this year. This is the first James Baldwin novel I've read cover to cover, and I guarantee it won't be the last. If you haven't read it yet, I hope you pick this novel up. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know if you've already read it, what you liked about it, what your take was. Maybe leave a favorite quote. This has been a video about why you should read Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. I hope you enjoy it and get as much out of it as I did. Take it easy. I'll see you in the next one. It's time for me to go vote.